Hundreds of people go missing under baffling conditions in the woods of North America every year. A former police detective named David Politis and the Can-Am Missing Project have put thousands of hours of investigation into these cases, and the result is a book and film series called Missing 411. I've left links in the description that will take you to both the Can-Am Missing Project website as well as the bookstore. Today we're continuing our look into these strange and mysterious cases, and we'll be looking at 3 cases from British Columbia. So, if this is the kind of stories that you're into, hit that like button, and if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly long-form uploads. So now, on to the stories. Clancy O'Brien, a 9-year-old from North Vancouver, vanished on the afternoon of Saturday, August 20th, 1966. Clancy, along with his 5 siblings and his parents, Patrick and Janice, had made the 5-hour trip from Vancouver to a town called 70 Mile House to attend the wedding of Janice's brother, Dave Livingston. That summer afternoon, Dave's friends and family gathered at the home of Dave and Janice's father, Neil, which was a ranch on the north shore of Little Green Lake, which was a small extension of Green Lake bordering it to the northeast. As the adults gathered inside the farmhouse, Clancy and his 6-year-old brother Tommy were outside with their 2 cousins, 15-year-old Johnny Livingston and 7-year-old Alan DeVitt Jr. The boys were heading out to Olson's Butte, a large hill about a mile northwest of the ranch, from which you can see almost the entirety of Green Lake. Sometime around 2:30 in the afternoon, Clancy started heading back to the farmhouse alone. Some accounts suggest that he had a disagreement with one of his cousins, while others say he left because he was hungry. Still another version said he vanished while the boys were playing hide and seek. Regardless, when 2 hours had gone by and Clancy hadn't returned, the boys headed back down the well-defined trail to the farmhouse. They soon discovered that Clancy hadn't made it. In fact, none of the adults had seen him since the group of boys headed out to Olson's Butte. After searching the immediate area, Clancy's father, grandfather, and 3 other family members set out to look for him on horseback. The men scoured the trail from the ranch to Olson's Butte, but found no trace of him. Soon more family members, friends, local ranchers, and even tourists pitched in to help. As night fell, more than a dozen men and women with lanterns and flashlights scoured the woods around Olson's Butte, calling out for him as they trudged through. At 5 a.m., the exhausted search parties made their way back to the Livingston Ranch. News of the missing child spread like wildfire throughout the Caribou country, and within hours, upwards of 80 volunteers joined in the search. The Caribou country is a region that spans the cities and districts of Quesnel, Williams Lake, 100 Mile House, and Wells in central British Columbia. Although frantic family members alerted the local RCMP detachment in nearby Clinton, they were reluctant to start an investigation until 24 hours had passed. By 3 p.m., the RCMP was involved in the search, and they enlisted the help of 2 local bush pilots. Later that afternoon, a tracking dog was flown in from the RCMP kennels in Vancouver, but neither the dog nor the bush pilots were able to turn up anything useful. By Monday morning, the search effort had ballooned to over 150 members, made up of tourists, sawmill workers, 3 bush pilots, 20 horseback riders, and search and rescue squads from other areas. Directed by an RCMP search and rescue unit from Kamloops, the searchers combed the wilderness northeast of Green Lake on foot, marking progress with red ribbons. By Wednesday, a total of 250 volunteers were trudging through knee-high swamps and pushing through the thick pine and spruce forests north of Green Lake. The additional manpower paid off. 3 sets of footprints were found, which investigators thought were most likely Clancy's. The tracking dogs were brought to the site, but the dogs showed no interest in them. Now thinking the prints were made by someone else, the searchers pressed on. The official search went on throughout the weekend, with parties heading out well before dawn and their shifts stretching well into the night. Communities throughout the Caribou country all donated money, food, blankets, and gasoline to support the operation. Apparently, some good-intentioned citizens went as far as consulting some self-proclaimed clairvoyants in the United States, but that, like everything else, provided no results. Despite tireless efforts in the vast 100 square miles of terrain they covered, the search effort failed to turn up any sign of Clancy O'Brien. Despite being lightly dressed when he disappeared, wearing only a t-shirt and a pair of jeans, officials remained hopeful that he would be found alive. On Sunday, members of the now 250-person search effort with 100 horseback stumbled upon a fourth set of footprints near a small lake, which Clancy's grandfather Neil said, quote, compared very favorably, unquote, with the tread of the shoes Clancy had been wearing. On Wednesday, August 31st, a tracking dog followed what was described as, quote, a strong but unidentified scent, unquote, for 3 miles to the edge of a lake. The next day, the same dog picked the scent back up at the opposite side of the lake, but lost the trail a short distance away. 13 days after Clancy O'Brien disappeared, on the evening of Friday, September 2, 1966, the RCMP called off the search, which officials described as one of the most thorough and extensive ever up to that point in British Columbia. Ground teams had logged over 22,000 man-hours, with searchers on horseback putting in nearly 5,000. Authorities were puzzled by the fact that such an extensive search and rescue effort had produced so few clues regarding Clancy's fate. The RCMP said in a statement that they had no intentions of dragging Green Lake, as its relatively shallow depth and lack of drop-offs into deeper water made it unnecessary. Clancy's father Patrick remained in the area and continued searching for another 10 days until September 12th, which marked 23 days since his son had vanished. Today, the RCMP still regards the disappearance of Clancy O'Brien as an open investigation. Rachel Bagnell and Jonathan Jette were both outdoor enthusiasts who first met at a climbing gym in Vancouver. Rachel, 25 years old, was from the central British Columbia city of Prince George and was studying medicine at the University of British Columbia. Jonathan, on the other hand, was 34 years old and from Quebec, who worked in Vancouver as an attaché for the Quebec provincial government. Both Rachel and Jonathan were highly intelligent, in superb physical shape, and they both shared a deep passion for adventure. As one might expect, they hit it off right away. In the spring of 2010, Rachel finished her third year of medical school. Instead of tackling her final year right away, she decided she would spend the fall semester traveling around South America, where she planned to use her medical expertise to give care to the underprivileged. Due to Jonathan's work in Vancouver, the two accepted the harsh reality of a temporary long-distance relationship. They opted to spend Labor Day weekend, their last together before Rachel left, in the Cayush Mountains northwest of the town of Pemberton. Despite Jonathan's nagging knee injury, the couple planned to spend the 3 days tackling scrambles. A scramble is a type of off-trail trip, usually to a summit, that often requires travel on steep snow slopes or rocky summit blocks. So they packed their climbing helmets, an ice axe, a book on alpine scrambling in British Columbia, and 3 days' worth of rations in their backpacks and set out on their adventure. On the morning of September 4th, 2010, Jonathan drove to the house Rachel shared with her sister in his Toyota Echo to pick her up. Together they headed north up the Sea to Sky Highway from Vancouver. At 7:42 a.m., the couple stopped at the Tim Hortons in the town of Squamish for a coffee and a hot chocolate before continuing north, passing through the town of Whistler. Driving through Pemberton, they took a left toward the Valentine Lake trailhead at the southern foot of Saxifrage Mountain and Cassio Peak. It would serve as a great base camp for their scrambling adventure. The long weekend came and went with no communication between the couple and their families. When Rachel wasn't back in Vancouver on Tuesday morning as planned, Her sister grew concerned and notified the RCMP. 2 days later, Mounties found Jonathan's car parked approximately 1 kilometer up the Spetch Creek Forest Service Road. 2 empty Tim Hortons cups were clearly visible in the cup holders. Jonathan's cell phone was found in the vehicle, but both Jonathan's and Rachel's camping equipment were gone. A search from the vehicle up the trail to Valentine Lake turned up few clues regarding their whereabouts. Valentine Lake is a picturesque retreat bordered by grassy slopes littered with boulders and subalpine forest. As far as investigators could tell, no one had recently been in the area. A pair of women's sunglasses were found near the lake, however they were later claimed by a woman who had lost them earlier in the year. Hoping to track the couple's path into the mountains, bloodhounds were brought out to Jonathan's car, but oddly the expert tracking dogs couldn't pick up a scent. Search and rescue teams from Pemberton, Whistler, Vancouver Island, and the lower Fraser Valley were brought in to search the Cayush Mountains for any sign of the missing hikers. Delayed by rain and heavy cloud cover, 3 helicopters were eventually able to search from the air. Despite a grueling 10-day search, no clues regarding Jonathan and Rachel were found. After this disappointing outcome, the family sought out the assistance of seasoned mountain guides. The team that was brought in included John Furneaux, a 3-time Mount Everest veteran, along with alpine guides Patrick Delaney and Eric Viso. Their mission was to meticulously seek out and search the crevasses and inaccessible areas on the slopes of Saxifrage and Cassio Peak, in the event the couple had encountered trouble and were possibly injured. But this too yielded nothing. In the months after the initial search effort, tips trickled into the local RCMP detachment. A hiker who had heard about the couple's disappearance came forward and claimed to have saw smoke coming from a densely forested cliff overlooking Peck Creek over Labor Day weekend. Investigators searched the area, but nothing was found. In December 2010, a member of the indigenous community of Mount Currie, about 5 miles southwest of Valentine Lake, went out to gather some firewood when he noticed odd crow and raven activity around Cassio Peak. After waiting for the snow to clear, the RCMP searched the site of the bird activity and found nothing of interest. In 2011, Rachel's family put up a wooden memorial cross along the shore of Valentine Lake. Jonathan's family has held out hope, unwavering in their belief that the couple will eventually be found in one way or another. However, some family members believe that Jonathan and Rachel ran into foul play. Every year in the fall, Jonathan's younger brother Miguel and his father fly out from Montreal to explore the mountains where their son and brother vanished. Jonathan's mother runs a Facebook page dedicated to finding the couple, regularly posting on the ongoing search efforts and of any new developments. Alison Raspa, a 25-year-old Australian woman, departed from Perth in May of 2017 to take a job at the Western Resort and Spa, an upscale lodging establishment in Whistler's Upper Village. On the evening of Thursday, November 22, 2017, Alison headed out for drinks with friends at the Three Below restaurant and lounge in downtown Whistler. At about 11:30 p.m., she decided to head home. Her friends would later tell investigators that she was not intoxicated when she left the lounge. She got on a bus that dropped her off at the intersection of Lake Placid Road and the Sea to Sky Highway in Whistler Creek, only about 5 kilometers southwest of the lounge. At 1:15 a.m., Alison texted a friend, saying that she was lost. The temperature that night was around 8 degrees Celsius. When Alison didn't show up for work on Friday morning, concerned friends went to her room to check on her and found she wasn't there either. They filed a missing persons report with the local RCMP detachment. Authorities put a trace on her phone and discovered it on the ground in Alpha Lake Park, a beautiful lakeside beach just 1 block southwest of Alison's last known location at the edge of the woods. Police searched the area around Alpha Lake. a small body of water stretching less than a mile in length and 1/10 of a mile wide. Earlier that morning, Alison's backpack and wallet had been found in a field bordering the north shore of the lake. Investigators began to believe that 25-year-old Alison had developed hypothermia, a significant decrease in body temperature that results in disorientation, confusion, and ultimately death. Some people who experience moderate to severe hypothermia exhibit a behavior known as paradoxical undressing, where victims remove their clothing as they suddenly begin to feel warm, when in reality their body temperature is dangerously low, and many times the victim is near death. With the suspicion that Alison, suffering from moderate to severe hypothermia, may have wandered into Alpha Lake in a state of delirium and drowned, authorities conducted an extensive search of the lake itself, utilizing divers and sonar scanners in an attempt to recover her. The operation proved fruitless. In addition, a massive search effort was scouring the surrounding wilderness. For 2 weeks, hundreds of volunteers on foot meticulously combed through the nearby woods and areas surrounding Alpha Lake. Despite these efforts, nothing was found. Alison's mother and brother, who had flown in from Perth to assist in the search, persisted in their quest to find her even after the RCMP terminated the official search. However, these efforts were also in vain. And so, after weeks of searching, they were forced to return to Australia without their daughter and sister. On the evening of Friday, March 16, 2018, almost 4 months after Alison vanished, a local resident stumbled upon the half-frozen remains of Alison Raspa. She was found in Alpha Lake, floating near the shore, in an area that had been meticulously searched by divers and sonar equipment. When the British Columbia Coroner's Office issued their report in March of 2020, it suggested that Alison Raspa had taken her own life on the night she vanished. They theorized that after she had become lost, Alison discarded her wallet and phone from her pockets and deliberately walked out into Alpha Lake with the intention of taking her life. But if this was the case, why wasn't her body discovered during any of the searches? Did the divers and sonar equipment miss it each time? Or is it possible that the body somehow wasn't there for the searchers to find? And if it wasn't, how did it get there after the official search was terminated? And so, that's going to do it for this episode of the Shelldrake Files. As always, if these are the kind of stories you're into, hit that like button. And, if you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our future content uploads. We upload one brand new long-form video every week and release new shorts 4 to 5 times a week. And so, for all of us here at the Shelldrake Files, we want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.